Hello, this is video 4 to help you complete your writing homework, your expert task. So I remind you I'm here on the class schedule and you come down to find your writing homework in the writing workshop section. And it's where it says homework due, expert task. And here's video 1, 2, 3 if you're realizing, whoa, I'm on the wrong video. But if you're ready for part 4, you can click on this expert task and wait for it. Click on your name. You should see your name. This is mine. And you open it up. And if you have completed part 1, you now have 1 and 2 and a 3 different articles. Okay? And if you've completed part 2, you've read those articles, and then you have 1, 2, 3 pieces of evidence for each article. So that's 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3, that's 9 pieces of evidence total. And if you've done part 3, you have clicked on each article and put it in a subtopic. And I know some students had problems making comments on their Chromebook. They didn't have the plus sign, but I hope you figured out that you could go to insert comment is another option, or you can double click, highlight and click on it with two fingers, and then you find the comment. So if we're now on part 4, which is the real challenging writing part. And hopefully you only have 3 subtopics. Some students I noticed had about 6, 7. That's just too many. You only want 3 sections to your essay. So I remind you, my first section is here. The subtopic is vampire bats, and I'm actually going to come down below my essay. You can see the formatting is weird. My little cursor, this is called your cursor, is in the middle. So if that's the case, you might want to go up here to this little button and align, bring it over to the left. And I'm going to push Control B because I like bold. I'm going to push Control U because I like underline. If you don't remember those commands, you can push these buttons too. I'm going to call, what was my first subtopic called again? Oh, vampire bats. I'm going to call it vampire bats, and I'm going to push Control B, Control U again, because I don't want to see that when I'm writing my essay. And this is my first section, so I'm going to say in my first section, I will explain vampire bats, or explain about, or I will discuss, I like that better. I will discuss vampire bats, and I put that in capitals because that's my main topic, and you can leave it in capitals if you're doing a topic, but you could also have it in lowercase because it's not a formal name. So in my first section, I will discuss vampire bats. So this is a good way to do an opening for a section. In my first section, or in this first section, I will discuss vampire bats. You can frame it as you wish, but it is very good to announce the section. This is what we are going to talk about. And then you want to go back up to your information. And you need to be very careful. If you're going to discuss these things, like I learned there are different animals that are called vampire squids, vampire squirrels, vampire deer, but they are not vampires. That is taking this sentence and putting it in kid talk. Here is another example. Vampire bats are the only critters that definitely drink blood. Vampire bats rarely go after humans. Here we go. Blood can be hard to get. Vampire bats who shared with many other bats could live longer than bats who shared with only a few. So we've got all this information. You need to be careful. If you are going to quote it directly, you need to use quotation marks. If you're going to write it in Kid Talk, you need to talk about this article. So let me show you an example. In this first section, I will discuss vampire bats. In Article 1, comma, I learned that vampire bats actually drink, not human, drink blood. Remember that? That was from up here. Vampire bats are the only critters that definitely drink blood. Now, I changed the word definitely to actually. I did not use this word critters. I changed it to my own words. In Article 1, I learned that vampire bats, maybe I'm going to even add here, are animals that actually drink blood. So I changed the word critters to animals. I changed the word definitely to actually. And I refer to Article 1. I talk about it. I am not just taking its words, stealing its words. I am referring to it. In Article 1, I learned that vampire bats are animals that actually drink blood. This is important, though, but vampire bats rarely go after humans. However, and I'm just going to add something fun in here because, you know, I'm writing my own essay. Don't be scared, because vampire bats do not go after, well, let's change it even more. Do not want to drink human blood. So I changed that into my own words. I made it a little more fun. Don't be scared, adding my own spirit in there, because vampire bats do not want to drink human blood. What about Article 2? Article 2 also talks about this a little. Blood can be hard to get. Vampire bats who shared with many other bats could live longer than bats who shared with only a few. So, okay, let's refer to Article 2. I also read a second article that said, that reminded me that sharing is caring. So this is me trying to be a little silly, trying to put my writing spirit into this paragraph. I also read a second article that reminded me that sharing is caring. For example, bats who share blood live longer. So you see what I did here? Blood can be hard to get. Vampire bats who shared with many other bats could live longer than bats who shared with only a few. I changed this into my own words. Bats who share blood live longer. Okay, so this is me still talking about vampire bats. Did I use all of my information? What's down here? I used that already. What's over here? Okay, this last line, I didn't use this. I also learned, or maybe finally, let's use one of our transition words. Finally, oops, spelling mistake. Remember, when you have a spelling mistake and it's red, 2-finger click, and it will give you the correct spelling. Finally, I found out that there are many animals with the name, animals that have the, or animals called vampires. Let's see, what are some of those names? Where did it go? And this is an example where I could use a direct quotation. So again, I remind you, you can click and highlight, push Control-C, come down here. So finally, I found out there are many animals called vampires. In Article 1, it says, comma, go shift, quotation mark, and now I'm going to put in that quote, Control V. Shift, quotation mark, whoops, shift, quotation mark to close it. Now it's yellow because it's from up there, so just push resolve, get rid of it. All right, so here we go. In Article 1, it says, what do vampire bats, vampire squids, vampire squirrels, and vampire deer have in common? They're not vampire bats. And now you gotta, if you have a quotation, you gotta then end it with your own words. So let's end this paragraph with something fun. So for example, vampire bats might drink blood, but they are not real vampires. Bats, yeah, that's probably good actually, just like that. Vampire bats might drink blood, but they are not real vampires. I just was thinking it might be fun to add something. Bats might, there is no need to be afraid of bats. Okay, so that's my first section, my first paragraph, and I hope you watch this part as many times as you need to understand how to take all of your evidence, so all of your evidence here on vampire bats, and connect it to your first subtopic, which was vampire bats. Now, I'm not going to do an example for each one here, but you can now go up to your next subtopic. So we finished this one on vampire bats, so we can resolve. Our next subtopic is what? Bat friendships. So I'm going to just model the beginning here. You're going to click here, push enter, enter, and I like to bold and underline, so I'm going to push Control B, Control U. And what was it called? Bat friendships. Notice how I do a capital B, a capital F here, because it's a subtopic, a subheading, and I'm going to push Control B, Control U again, so that when I come down here, I pushed enter, enter, and tab to go in, that it's now not going to be in bold and not underlined. But you need to go back now and read the evidence for your subtopic. I mean, if I were to go back, I would find everything connected to bat friendships and start off your next section. This next section will describe bat friendships, and then you go off to find your evidence, either write it in Kid Talk or use a direct quotation to explain this section. So good luck on this very important writing part. You are writing your 3 body paragraphs for your expert text. This is one of our last videos, because you are going to, our next video will be about the introduction and conclusion, and the final video will be about editing. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Over and out.